Very good morning, grade 12. Yesterday, I was correcting some of your test answers. You know, that online test that we had for 5 marks. I don't know, somehow I did not feel very happy with some of your answers. Looked like you looked at something and reproduced. I don't want to use the word copy, okay? So I do not know how many of you are really sincere. First thing I would like to tell you, I know how many of you can write, in what manner. Okay. So you have this in mind before you can start your test. All right. So please make sure you do not copy. Write what you know. Prepare well. In the previous videos, I told you how we are going to schedule our tests. Our portions are given, everything. I've told you very clearly. So a small portion, if you cannot study properly and do a test, I don't understand. You are, I know how serious you are about your grade 12. See, one thing I'm going on telling you, we will not have time when you come to school. We do not know when school is going to start. We do not know how much of time we'll have for revision. So many things are there. Please, you are old enough now. You have to be matured for your age. You have to study. Okay, this is not the time for you to play, joke around, walk around. Yeah, you might have brothers and sisters who are younger than you. For them, it's a different story. For you, it's a different story. You cannot compare yourself with them, please. So please study. Some of you are not doing your work properly. I saw same answers in 2-3 people's work yesterday. Now, what do you want me to think of that? I don't understand. Okay, Dordet, the spelling was wrong. The name of the author. So what are we doing? Children, please, I can only advise you. As I always tell you, I can only take the horse to the pond. I cannot drink for it. You are the ones who are going to do the exam. Please, I can only plead with you. All right. It's not like grade 10. Grade 10, even towards the end, you all started learning, you all scored marks. Now, 12th is not like that, please, for heaven's sake. Start learning seriously. Okay. And I'm going on to the 4th lesson today, the rat trap. First, I would like you to look at the spelling. Rat trap. Okay, the rat trap. Selma Lagerlof. Now, if you look at this, the title of this lesson, what do we use a rat trap for? Very clear. Rat to trap rats. We put a piece of cheese there, or you put a piece of coconut. Some of our mothers, they burn. They kind of roast the coconut and they hang it into the trap, and the rats, they get attracted to this coconut. They come inside and the trap shuts in. So that is a rat trap. Okay. Now in this lesson we are going to see how a rat trap is metaphorically treated. Okay. And then not only that, it's also about human beings. How when you are kind to somebody, how that person can change from bad to good. A transformation takes place in a person when he receives kindness from somebody. And all these are values that we learn. Whatever, let the person be anyone or anything, but our kindness can change the person. Right. So the rat trap is a very nice story about different characters whom this person comes across, the main character, and how people react to him, and how changes occur in him. That is the main story. Now here, when you look at the main character, he is supposed to be a rat trap, the seller of rat traps. And what kind of person is he? And does he change? Who is responsible for his change? All these answers you will get as you read through the story. Now, when you look at the rat trap, the first thing that comes to your mind is when you trap something. Right, is he going to get trapped in that case? That's also a question to think of. So, is the trap set for him, or is he setting a trap for somebody, or does he get caught in his own trap? There are so many different questions that come to your mind when you look at the title of the lesson. All right, so let me start off with you. I expect you to keep your textbook with you, your notes, the meanings, please, and you can start. So the rat trap, about the author, Selma Lagerlöf, was a Swedish writer from Sweden, yes, whose stories have been translated into many languages. A universal theme runs through all of them, a belief that the essential goodness in a human being can be awakened through understanding and love. Just what I told you now. How you behave, how you treat a person is what can change a person from bad to good. This story is set amidst the mines of Sweden. Mines, okay? Quarry, all that. Rich in iron ore, where you find a lot of iron ore, okay? And which figures large in the history and legends of that country. So Sweden is known for its iron ore, okay? It is a naturally occurring solid material from which a metal or valuable minerals can be extracted, okay? Now, if you look at it, it says the story is told somewhat in the manner of a fairy tale. All right. Now, somewhat in the manner of a fairy tale, it's a narration. All right. So now here we are going to look at how the story starts off. Look at the way it starts. Once upon a time. Yeah, that's why whenever you start off with the story, you say once upon a time. Okay. So here, once upon a time, and this usually happens in fairy tales. All right. That's why it said the story is told somewhat in the manner of a fairy tale. So let's start off. You follow with me. Once upon a time, there was a man who went around selling small rat traps of wire. He made them himself at odd moments from the material he got by begging in the stores or at the big farms. But even so, the business was not especially profitable, so he had to resort to both begging and petty thievery to keep body and soul together. Even so, his clothes were in rags. Look at the the narration. Okay, that's why it says fairy tale narration. His cheeks were sunken and hunger gleamed in his eyes. Now, when you look at the rat trap seller, he's a person who makes the rat traps on his own. All right, and how does he make them? He goes and he gets material by begging in the stores, okay, or at big farms. He makes it with wire, and the rat trap is made with wire. And no, it how much will you get by selling a rat trap? So he was not making a very big profit, and so he had to, to live, to get at least food for the day, he had to go around begging also. And not only begging, he also had this habit of stealing, okay, robbing things. That's why it says thievery. So it says he went begging and also did petty thievery, small things, okay, small minor thefts. So he had to survive. He had to keep body and soul together. He had to survive. So he had to beg as well as do a little small, thefts, and then he would also sell rat traps. So this is the way his life moved on. So his clothes were in rags. Naturally, he's a very poor man, so he did not have proper clothing. His cheeks were sunken. Okay, not he was not very healthy looking, and hunger gleamed in his eyes. So when you look at a person who is hungry, he becomes very kind of drooping, almost about to faint. So that kind of a look in his eyes. So this is about the main character in this story, the person who sells rat traps. No one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond. Now, who's a vagabond? A nomad, a wanderer, all right? No one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond who plods along the road left to his own meditation. So plodding, walking heavily, okay, just dragging himself. Life can be very boring for such a kind of person. Now, yes, when the shutdown, the lockdown started, probably for 1 week, everybody was cool. But then people are not very happy with the lockdown. Though it is for our own good, for our own benefit, people kept walking around outside. They like to stroll around. They found some reason or the other to go out because they did not like the monotony, the same routine, staying indoors. And you know how much of problems that led to. And so this man also had a very boring life. It was very monotonous, same routine, going around selling, trying to find some money to eat, to keep body and soul together, to try and survive, get food. Okay, so his life was not very, a very interesting one. So he kept walking along, thinking of so many different things about his life and stuff. But one day, this man had fallen into a line of thought. So he started thinking of something which really seemed to him entertaining. So suddenly, there was something very interesting that came to his head. He had naturally been thinking of his rat traps when suddenly he was struck by the idea that the whole world about him, the whole world with its land and seas, its cities and villages, was nothing but a big rat trap. Now, of course, if you look at it, he was a rat trap seller, and he was thinking only of rat traps. So now he started imagining, he's looking at the world like a rat trap. The world itself is a trap. That's what he thinks of. Okay, he's comparing the rat trap. Okay, and the world. He says the world is a trap. Okay, it had never existed for any other purpose than to set baits for people. What's the bait? The food that you keep there to attract the rats. So he says, it had never existed for any other purpose. The purpose of the existence of this world itself is to trap people. It offered riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, exactly as the rat trap offered cheese and pork. And as soon as anyone let himself be tempted to touch the bait, it closed in on him. And then everything came to an end. What happens when you want to trap a rat? You must have watched this movie Monster. How Surya goes and tries to, capture a particular rat. Very interesting. Just with one rat, they've come up with an entire story. So, why do we? What do we do to trap a rat? We have to put something interesting inside the trap so the rat gets attracted, and once it comes in, the trap shuts down. So that's exactly what the world offers. So is the imagination of the seller, the rat trap seller. So what does he think of? He says the world is a rat trap and it has lots of things to offer, joy, pleasure, food, shelter, whatever can attract people. It has everything that can attract people. And when somebody gets attracted and walks in, there he is trapped. That is what is the comparison here. So, the world, what happens when the rat trap shuts down? The rat is caught, and then, that's the end of its life. So, that's how he looks at the world. Okay. The world had, of course, never been very kind to him. So it gave him unwanted, unaccustomed, unusual joy to think ill of it in this way. So when somebody is very rude to you, you don't mind being rude to the person, okay? That is where God wants you to be kind to people who are unkind to you. It's not very easy, okay? That's why Jesus says, love your enemies as you love yourself. He doesn't say love your friend. He doesn't say love your immediate member of the family. He says love your enemies. It's very difficult, right? So that's how God expects us to be. So here he is looking at the world. The world has always been very rude to him. If it were to be kind to him, it would have been, okay. He would have had a wonderful square meal at least, and then he wouldn't have been robbing probably. So the world has been very unkind to him, and so he does not mind thinking of the world like in the negative aspect, in the form of a rat trap. And it was, he was very happy that he was, having a negative connotation to the world. It became a cherished pastime of his during many dreary plottings to think of people he knew who had let themselves be caught in the dangerous snare trap, and of others who were still circling around the bait. So he's imagining the world to be a rat trap. He can see some people have already got into the trap, and the world has shut down, shut, closed in on them. And some people are still circling. They're not still caught, but they are being attracted. So it's very amusing for him to think in this manner. Okay? So he's very excited, something to keep him going, something to keep him occupied, entertained. So he goes on. So one dark evening, as he was trudging, dragging himself, trudging along the road, he caught sight of a little grey cottage by the roadside. And he knocked on the door to ask shelter for the night. So he's a wanderer, he's a nomad. Okay, so when he passed by, he saw a little cottage and he said, "Okay, let me ask if I can pass my night here." Nor was he refused. So naturally, the person who opened the door, the person who was in that cottage, offered him shelter. Instead of the sour faces, very not very happy faces, which ordinarily met him, people were not very happy to usually give him shelter or anything. Here, instead of those kind of people, the owner was an old man without wife or child, so he was alone, was happy. He was happy to get someone to talk to in his loneliness. So he himself was a lonely person. So he was not like any other person whom the Rattrap seller, met usually. This man was out of the ordinary. He liked to give him shelter because he himself was a very lonely person. So he thought, okay, if this person stays, he would have some company for that night. He would have somebody to talk to. He could spend some time with somebody. Okay, he can get rid of that loneliness at least for that one particular night. So he was happy. Okay, immediately he put the porridge pot on the fire and gave him supper. SUPPER. So what happened? Not only giving him shelter, he also made some porridge and he made him, supper, early dinner. Then he carved off such a big slice from his tobacco roll. He cut off. Okay, tobacco is like a leaf, So he cut it there, and he carved off such a big slice from his tobacco roll that it was enough both for the stranger's pipe and his own. So he gave him to smoke as well. Finally, he got out on an old pack of cards and played Jollis. Okay, that's a game of cards, Jollis, with his guest until bedtime. So he gave him food, he gave him to smoke, and then he also played a game of Jollis with him. The man, that's a card game, okay, Jollis. It's pronounced Jollis. So, the old man was just as generous with his confidences. So, not only giving him food and shelter, he also gave out a lot of secrets. He revealed a lot of secrets of his private matters. So, the old man was just as generous with his confidences as with his porridge and tobacco. The guest was informed at once that in his days of prosperity, his host had been a crofter at Ramsjo Iron Works and had worked on the land. So the host is this man, okay? This man was actually a worker at Ramsjo, that was an iron works, the factory, okay? And he was a crofter, a person who owns small land, okay? Farm and kind of a craft. Okay, so this man, he was working as a crafter, a person who molds stuff and all that in the iron works. Okay, that is at Ramsjo, the name of the company, and had worked on the land. So he owned. Actually, Ramsjo Iron Works is where they make molds and stuff. Okay, and this man is actually a crofter who owns land, and then he worked on that land, and he was okay, kind of. He was a person who had some money there. Now that he was no longer able to day labor, it was his cow which supported him. So he was not able to work on the land. So now he's grown old probably. So what happened? He had stopped going to work, and what gave him money to earn his, to make his living was his cow. So he would milk the cow, sell it, and get money and live on that money. Yes, that bossy was extraordinary. She could give milk for the creamery every day. And last month, he had received all of 30 roner in payment. Okay, that's a currency in Sweden. So what happens? He says the cow was excellent and it could give a lot of milk for the creamery, for the dairy. Okay, where in our place, what do? They go to the cooperative society, they handle the milk, they get the money, so like that. So this man was, used to sell his milk. The cow gave him milk, and he used to sell that milk, and then he just recently had earned about 30 rollers. Okay, that's a currency of Sweden. Okay, so now here what is happening? The stranger must have seemed incredulous, for the old man got up and went to the window, took down a leather pouch which hung on a nail in the very window frame, and picked out 3 wrinkled 10 bills. These he held up before the eyes of his guest, nodding knowingly, and then stuffed them back into the pouch. So now Ramsjo Iron Mill is there, okay, and some land around there. This man worked. He was not able to work any longer. So what happened? He was living on the income that he got by selling the milk that his cow gave. Now, if you look at it, this man was a very friendly person. One thing is, he himself was lonely, so he was waiting for somebody to come to talk to. And when he did get this person, he revealed all his secrets. Now, this man, the Rattrap seller, is not just a simple ordinary person. He was also, used to doing petty thefts. Now, this man not only is telling him how he earned the money, he is also there giving up all his secrets. He's talking about his income. He goes up and takes out the money and he shows him the money and where he had the money. All this is being noted by this Rattrap seller. When we stayed in Ponneri, we had this huge ironwork place, okay, because it says about Ramsjo Iron Works. We stayed there, and there was a big, huge factory there. There they made all these big molds, which were needed for, vehicles, huge, like lorries, heavy vehicles. They used to make these molds. And you won't believe, uh, it was a lot of sand also work in, I don't know how they made these things, but a lot of sand also was involved. And you won't believe, people in that place where we stayed would go, once the mold is made, I think they have this sand, which they have to dispose. It is not disposing just like that disposing. These people who stayed in that area would go to this ironwork place, the factory, and they would buy lorry loads of sand, and the sand would be black. Okay, but you won't believe, these people, they would take big magnets, employ about 10 to 20 people who are there, and they would collect all the scrap iron from that sand. And believe me, they made a lot of money. They paid for one lorry load, but they would at least make 3 to 4, times of the money they paid for that sand. But one thing was very, very, disgusting. These people who worked, I do not know how they managed to work. Really, very sad for them. They would come out black, from top to toe. They would be black after collecting the scraps of iron. Because molds are made, the iron pieces will be there in that sand, but the money they made out of that, really a huge sum. So now you look at, so coming back, that's why I was talking about molds and Ramsjo Iron Works and stuff. So a profitable business, and this man was a crofter. He worked on land which was owned by Ramsjo Iron Works, the owner of Ramsjo. Okay, so now this man, the crofter, is here entertaining his guests, not only giving him shelter, not only giving him food, not only giving him tobacco, he also plays with him and reveals all his secrets. And that too, We very well know that this fellow who sells a rat traps, fellow is a thief too. Now you can imagine the amount of, kindness that this man, the crofter, is showing to this fellow. But, he trusts him also. He wants to get rid of his loneliness, of course. But can you imagine, he reveals all his secrets, and he also shows him the money that he has made, and he shows him where it is also. He takes it out and he shakes it also in front of him, the money, and you can imagine, what would be running through the mind of this rat trap seller. There are two different things that can happen. One is, if he's a cruel fellow, he would want to steal the man. If he is a person who is touched by the person's kindness, then he would not steal the money. There are two options now in front of him. What would you do if somebody is kind to you? Would you harm them? Or would you help them out in difficult situations? Would you be grateful to such a kind of person? Or will you go and harm the person? Now, the crofter was very, very kind to this man. Let's see how he's going to, react, or how he's going to pay him back. So, the next day, both men got up in good season quite early, because the crofter has got his cow to milk. The crofter was in a hurry to milk his cow, and the other man probably thought he should not stay in bed when the head of the house had gotten up. So since the owner of the house is up, he also thought he should not be sleeping. He also got up. They left the cottage at the same time. So both leave at the same time. The crofter locked the door and put the key in his pocket. The man with the rat traps said goodbye and thank you, and thereupon each went his own way. So now, the night is over, morning, both of them get up and they leave the house together. Now, what is this man going to do? That's the question. But half an hour later, the rat trap peddler, look at the spelling, P-E-D-D-L-E-R, peddler, seller, stood again before the door. What is he going to do? Is he succumbing to his temptation, or is he going to, be kind to the crofter? Think. He did not try to get in, however. So he did not break into the house. He only went up to the window, smashed a pane stuck in his hand, got hold of the pouch with the 30 rana, took the money and thrust it into his own pocket. Then he hung the leather pouch very carefully back in its place and went away. So, he just breaks into the window. So he breaks the window pane, puts his hand in. He knows where the pouch is, and the money was in the pouch. He knew all that because the crofter had shown him everything. So he just takes the money and hangs the leather pouch back in its place, and he walks off. Is that the way he repays the old man's kindness? As he walked along with the money in his pocket, he felt quite pleased with his smartness. So at first he was very proud, okay? He realized, of course, that at first he dared not continue on the public highway, but must turn off the road into the woods. Why? Why should he turn off into the woods? Why should he not use the public road, the highway? The highway would be busy. And if he's going to walk on the highway, he can easily be caught. But if he's in the woods, nobody can find him. During the first hours, this caused him no difficulty. In the beginning, he did not find it very difficult to go through the woods. Later in the day, it became worse. For it was a big and confusing forest which he had gotten into. So now look at what is happening to him. If he had not taken that money, he could have just walked, and he would have gone on his, went on with his life. But here, he has stolen the crofter's money, and he knows that he's in trouble. If he's caught, it would be very bad. So to escape that, he's walking through the woods, and he's finding it very difficult. He's not able to find his way out of the woods. He tried to be sure to walk in a definite direction, but the path twisted back and forth so strangely. He walked and walked without coming to the end of the wood. And finally he realized that he had only been walking around the same part of the forest. All at once he recalled his thoughts about the world and the rat trap. Now his own turn had come. He had let himself be fooled by a bait and had been caught. The whole forest with its trunks and branches, its thickets, bushes, and fallen logs closed in upon him like an impenetrable, impossible to pass through, prison from which he could never escape. Now he thought he would be happy by taking away the 30 runners. But now what happened to him? After taking the 30 runners, he's not very happy. He's very, he's caught in a trap. He imagined the world to be a rat trap by itself. So now here he realizes the 30 runners, the bait, by putting his hand to the bait, he himself is caught in a trap. And now here he is in the forest, which is like a trap there, and he's not able to get out of the forest. He's not able to find a way out. If you have to see the movie, watch the movie Devi, how, Prabhudeva tries to get out of one room, but he makes, he finds himself in the same room all over again. Goes out, he comes back into the same room. So this man is not able to find his way out of the forest. So now he realizes that the world is like a rat trap. He connected to, he was imagining the world to be a rat trap which offered bait, food, shelter, lots of things, and people get caught. He was thinking of all that. But now he finds himself in such a kind of a situation. He himself is caught in this trap. By putting his hand to the 30 runners, he himself is in a trap. It was late in December. Darkness was already descending over the forest. This increased the danger. Naturally, in the forest, in the darkness, how will you find your way out? And then it's a forest. What about the animals? This increased the danger and increased also his gloom and despair. He was very upset. He lost all hope. Finally, he saw no way out, and he sank down on the ground, tired to death, thinking that his last moment had come. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a hard, regular thumping. A regular sound, thump, thump, thump. There was no doubt as to what that was. He knew it was something. He raised himself. Those are the hammer strokes from an iron mill. I told you, Ramshaw Iron Mill is somewhere there. The crofter has mentioned that also, right? So it was somewhere nearby, and people, they keep hammering the iron, right? So that noise, he could hear it regularly, and he understood, okay, that must be the sound from the hammer. People are working in the mill. There must be people nearby. He summoned all his strength, he gathered all his strength, because he was almost very tired to death. Got up and staggered, not walking properly, not able to walk, did not have enough strength, he was exhausted. So he staggered in the direction of the sound. The Ramsjo ironworks, which are now closed down, were not so long ago a large plant with smelter, rolling mill, and forge, where they make molds. Okay, the smelter, that's like a factory. Okay, metal is made from ore. Rolling mill and forge, where they make shapes. I'm talking to you about molds. All right, where they create molds, different shapes, whatever they want to make. They shape a metal. In the summertime, so which are now closed down, they're not working as they were before. Okay, So, in the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges, you know, and scows slid down the canal. Now, barges are flat-bottomed boats. Okay, long flat-bottom boat is a barge, and scows, they are wide-beamed sailing dinghies. They call dinghies, boat. Okay, slid down the canal, which led to a large inland lake. And in the wintertime, the roads near the mill were black from all the coal dust which sifted down from the big charcoal crates. So I was telling you about the factory. So same thing. So probably they used, these boats to transport all the stuff that they made from this mill, ironworks. Okay. So now this particular mill, he was able to hear some noise from there. So he understood there were people there. Okay. Now they're closed down, but there are some people there. The ironworks is closed down, but he could hear some noise, and so he understood that somebody was there in the iron mill and in the mill, and somebody was working probably, and so he was able to hear this regular thumping sound of the hammer. Crates are wooden cases, okay? So they were charcoal crates full of charcoal. During one of the long, dark evenings just before Christmas, the master smith, you call the person who works with gold a goldsmith, the person who works with gold a blacksmith, okay? So the master smith and his helper sat in the dark forge near the furnace, waiting for the pig iron. That's a crude iron, okay, from a smelting furnace in the form of oblong blocks. Okay, that is a pig iron, crude iron from smelting. When you heat it in a furnace, what you get out. Okay, these people, the master smith and his helper, sat in the dark forge near the furnace, waiting for the pig iron, which had been put in the fire, to be ready to put on the anvil. That's a heavy iron, okay, with a flat, top, okay, and they're waiting to get out this mold and put it on to the anvil, okay, and concave sides. It's like a flat top and concave, sides, and you have to hammer the metal on it. That is what an anvil is. So they're waiting to get this thing out, and you have to shape it. And when you heat it and when you hit it, it gets shaped. So he's there, this master smith and the helper, the servant, they're waiting near the furnace. Every now and then, one of them got up to stir the glowing mass with a long iron bar, returning in a few moments, dripping with perspiration, sweating because it is so hot. They had to go and kindle the fire, all right? Though, as was the custom, he wore nothing but a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. It's very hot, right? So, just to protect, he's got long sleeves, a shirt, and wooden shoes because it's hot. The furnace, it's very hot, and they're working in the heat. All the time, there were many sounds to be heard in the forge. The big bellows, okay, deep, loud roars, those are bellows, groaned, deep sound in pain, and the burning coal cracked. Now they have to work with the fire, and when metal is heated, you hear the cracking sound and stuff. The fire boy, the person who's kindling the fire, shoveled charcoal. He pushed, pushing it in. Its shovel is a tool, okay, where you take the coal and push it in. If you watch old movies, you see the steam engines, how people dig up the coal and they push it into the fire, and that's how the engines worked those days. The fire boy shoveled charcoal into the maw, okay, the jaw, the throat of the the mouth of the furnace. Okay, that's a maw. Now, of the furnace, mouth of the furnace. Okay, that's a maw of the furnace. Usually, maw means the throat of a very voracious animal. The throat. Okay, you stuff it in. That's the throat, the mouth. So here it refers to the furnace. Okay, the opening. So the boy shoveled charcoal into the maw of the furnace, and with a great deal of clatter, with a lot of noise. He's taking the charcoal and feeding the fire. Outside roared the waterfall. There was a waterfall nearby. You can hear that also. And a sharp north wind whipped the rain against the brick tiled roof. So it was raining as well. It was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that the man had opened the gate and entered the forge until he stood close up to the furnace. So, with all this noise, it was not surprising that the blacksmith did not notice this peddler walking into the furnace, he went into the mill, and he walked up right where these people were working. Surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the sooty panes. Sooty is dirty, okay? Deep black powdery stuff which is stuck on the panes in the window or the door. And there was a lot of light, it passed through the creaks, cracks of the doors and windows. So it's a forest area, and people were who did not know where to go and take shelter would usually get attracted to this light and stuff, and they would walk in, and it was not unusual. So this man also came there, and it was not very surprising for the blacksmith and the other person who was there, because they were used people who came there for shelter. So, surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds, wanderers, without any better shelter for the night, to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the sooty panes, and to come in to warm themselves in front of the fire. So, the blacksmith glanced only casually and indifferently at the intruder. He was used to all these kind of people walking in. So, he did not mind, he just looked at and did not bother much about him. Intruder, the one who disturbs, the one who intrudes. He looked the way people of his type usually did, with a long beard, dirty, ragged, and with a bunch of rat traps dangling on his chest. So it was all hanging there, the rat traps and stuff. He had them all around him on his chest. So it was usual, people who were walking around, how they appear, the same way this fellow also came in and he stood there. So the blacksmith was not very surprised to see this man. He asked permission to stay, and the master blacksmith nodded a hearty consent. He gave him permission, but in a very angry way, without honoring him, no respect for him, okay, with a single word. So he said, probably okay, right? The tramp did not say anything either. Who's the tramp? The person who is on foot, that is the peddler. He had not come there to talk, but only to warm himself and sleep. So he wanted just shelter, so he came there, and it was very cold, so he just wanted a place where he could be warm and safe for the night. In those days, the Ramsjo iron mill was owned by a very prominent iron master, a manufacturer of iron, okay, iron master. So, the proprietor of the iron works, all right, the person in charge, the owner, whose greatest, prominent is important person, a famous person, okay, whose greatest ambition, the owner had an ambition, that ambition was to ship out iron goods to the market. So he wanted to become a good businessman, sending out iron goods from his iron works. He watched both night and day to see that the work was done as well as possible. And at this very moment, he came into the forge on one of his nightly rounds of inspection. So the owner had this habit of walking in and out. In our school, you see the principal going on rounds. Sometimes treasurer comes, he goes on rounds to make sure everything is fine. So, yeah, you can see this man, he comes probably in the night also, he takes a look, comes around and has a look at what is happening in the factory. So here he also comes in. Naturally, the first thing he saw was the tall ragamuffin. Ragamuffin, a person in rags, okay, a child in rags, who had eased his way so close to the furnace that steam rose from his wet rags. So now, the peddler wanted to warm himself. So he was very close to the furnace, okay? He was so close that even, his wet clothes were, steam was coming out of his clothes. So he was so close to the furnace, and this man, of course, he's the owner. So when he notices somebody strange there, somebody out of the ordinary, he knows this person is here. So he wants to know who the person is, right? So this man notices this fellow. The iron master did not follow the example of the blacksmith, who had hardly deigned to look at the stranger. He walked close up to him, looked him over very carefully, then tore off his slouch, okay, hat to get a better view of his face. No, the slouch hat, simply there is a hat, probably he put it on his face to cover and to get something sleep. So this man, he was not like the blacksmith. Blacksmith is not, he's just working there. But this man is the owner. He's more concerned about who is walking into his place and who is going out to his place. So when he sees this person, he wants to see who this person is. So he takes the hat off to have a close look at the peddler's face. But of course it is you, Nils Olof, he said. How you do look? Oh my God. So this man thinks he knows this person. Okay. The owner thinks he knows the peddler. And he's calling him Nils Olof. So probably he thinks this person is Nils Olof. The man with the rat traps had never before seen the ironmaster at Ramsjo. And Ramsjo is a village, okay, in Sweden. So Ramsjo Iron Works. And did not even know what his name was. But it occurred to him that if the fine gentleman thought he was an old acquaintance, a friend, he might perhaps throw him a couple of rona. Therefore, he did not want to undeceive him all at once. Now, you know, this fellow is a very, kind of a very cunning fellow. He did not know the master of the owner of the ironworks, but he thought he would give him some money if he knew him. So he did not want to say, no, I am not Nils Olof. I do not know you. He didn't say anything of that kind. Yes, God knows things have gone downhill with me, he said. You should not have resigned from the regiment, said the ironmaster. That was the mistake. If only I had still been in the service at the time, it never would have happened. Well, now, of course, you will come home with me. To go along up to the manor house is a large country house with land around it, okay? And be deceived by the owner like an old regimental comrade. That, however, did not please the tramp. So now he thought, okay, let me tell him, that, act like I know him and stuff. So he says, yes, things have not been very good with me. Okay, but he does not say that he does not know this particular person and that he is not Nils Olof. So the peddler is very cunning there. But when the ironmaster, the man, the owner, tells him that he is going to take him home, this fellow becomes very, scared. Already he has robbed the crofter. One. Another thing is when he goes home, he does not know how he'll get out of the house. So there are so many different things. So he's not very happy to go with this man. All right. So let's see how he manages the show. No, I couldn't think of it, he said, looking quite alarmed. So he said, no, I cannot even think of going with you to your house. He was quite alarmed. He was very upset, okay, bothered, scared. He thought of the 30 rona. He's already robbed. To go up to the manor house would be like throwing himself voluntarily into the lion's den. It's like a trap again. He only wanted a chance to sleep here in the forge and then sneak away in inconspicuously as possible. Not clearly, not visibly. He didn't want to attract anybody's attention. He just wanted to pass the night in that place and walk away in the morning without being noticed by anybody. The ironmaster assumed that he felt embarrassed because of his miserable clothing. So what does this man think? Oh, this is my friend. Probably he's not well dressed. So I think he does not want to come home with me. Please don't think that I have such a fine home that you cannot show yourself there. Don't think of your clothes. Don't think of your appearance. You can come home, he says. He said, Elizabeth is dead, probably his wife, as you may already have heard. My boys are abroad and there is no one at home except my oldest daughter and myself. We were just saying that it was too bad we didn't have any company for Christmas. Now come along with me and help us make the Christmas food disappear a little faster. So this man is thinking that, this fellow is a person who was in the army with him. He worked with him in the regiment. He says, no, if I had to be there, I wouldn't have allowed you to resign your job. I would have made you stay there. Now you wouldn't have been in such a kind of a state. All that he says. But then he also wants to take this man home, thinking he's his old acquaintance, a friend of his. But now this fellow, the peddler, is very scared. What if he goes there and he gets caught? So he does not want to risk that particular thing, and he does not want to go to his house with him. This man is trying to make him comfortable. He says only his daughter is at home. The other boys, his children are abroad. His wife is no more. So only 2 of them at home. So he's inviting him for Christmas. All right. Now, But the stranger said no and again no. And the ironmaster saw that he must give in. So when the man was not able to force him to go home, he just left him alone. It looks as though Captain Von Stale preferred to stay with you tonight. Sturgeon strong, he said to the master blacksmith and turned on his heel. So he looks at the man, the blacksmith, and says, looks like my friend wants to spend the night with you. So, meaning to say, take care of him. And he leaves. But he laughed to himself as he went away, and the blacksmith who knew him understood very well that he had not said his last word. So when he smiled, the blacksmith, naturally is working for him, has been with him for quite some time probably, so he knew the master, and he knew that he had other plans. So he actually did not say goodbye, for that night. So it was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge. And new guest came in, but this time it was not the ironmaster. He had sent his daughter, apparently, clearly hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion than he himself. So now what did the master do? He went home and he sent his daughter to persuade this man and bring him home. She entered, followed by a valet, that's a male assistant, okay, a valet, it's not valet, valet, carrying on his arm a big fur coat. She was not at all pretty, but seemed modest, very decent person, and quite shy. In the forge, everything was just as it had been earlier in the evening. The master blacksmith and his apprentice, a person learning the trade, still sat on their bench, and iron and charcoal still glowed in the furnace. The stranger had stretched himself out on the floor and lay with a piece of pig iron under his head and his hat pulled down over his eyes. So he had a piece of pig iron like a pillow, and he had his hat on his face, just like the previous time when the owner came and saw him. As soon as the young girl caught sight of him, she went up and lifted his hat. Just like the father did, she also went and pulled out his hat. The man was evidently used to sleeping with one eye open. So there was a particular way in which this peddler slept. One eye was open, one eye was closed. He jumped up abruptly. Why do you think he had that habit? Probably he was very, cautious. He was always in trouble. He thought he would get caught. Okay. He jumped up abruptly and seemed to be quite frightened. My name is Edla Wilminson, said the young girl. My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forge tonight, and then I asked permission to come and bring you home to us. I'm so sorry, Captain, that you are having such a hard time. So she thinks also, she thinks it's his father, he's her father's acquaintance, so she also is inviting him home. She looked at him compassionately. She's showing a lot of sympathy to him with her heavy eyes, and then she noticed that the man was afraid. Either he has stolen something or else he has escaped from jail, she thought, and added quickly, you may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came. Only please stay with us over Christmas Eve. So she is trying to make him comfortable, She is telling him, okay, don't worry, you can come with us and you can leave whenever you please to. Okay, so we will not force you, we will not, she's trying to give him that, the confidence that she will not put him into trouble. She said this in such a friendly manner that the Rattrap peddler must have felt confidence in her. So he felt very confident that she's not going to put him into any trouble. It would never have occurred to me that you would bother with me yourself, miss, he said. I will come at once. So he thought, okay, she's a very kind person. So he says, I did not think that you're so kind to come, in person to invite me home. So he goes with her. He accepted the fur coat, which the valet handed him with a deep bow, threw it over his rags, and followed the young lady out to the carriage without granting the astonished blacksmith so much even as a glance. So he did not even bother to look at the blacksmith. He just took the fur coat and he walked away with the person. But while he was riding up to the manor house, he had evil forebodings, a feeling that something bad will happen. No, he was thinking of all that because of the 30 roners that he had stolen and all those things. Okay, why the devil did I take the fellow's money? He thought. Now I'm sitting in the trap and will never get out of it. Now he's wondering why the hell he robbed from the crofter. The next day was Christmas Eve. Okay, so 24th. And when the iron master came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade, whom he had run across so unexpectedly. First of all, we must see to it that he gets a little flesh on his bones, he said to his daughter, not make him a little fat and feed him up a little. Who was said to his daughter, who was busy at the table. So she was probably laying the table, getting it ready for everyone to have, food. And then we must see that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling rat traps. So they wanted to make sure he did well in his life. It is queer, very strange that things have gone downhill with him as badly as that, said the daughter. So father and daughter are discussing about this man whom they think is Captain Nils Olaf. Okay. Last night I did not think there was anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man. So he looks so bad, He looks, like an uneducated, illiterate person. You must have patience, my little girl, said the father. As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you would see something different. So don't worry. Once he's dressed up properly, probably he'll look different. So wait, he was a captain. So he'll look very dignified once he's cleaned up. Wait, he says, he tells the daughter. Last night he was naturally embarrassed, so he was not in good clothes, so he did not want to come home. So wait, once he cleans up, he'll be okay. The tramp manners will fall away from him with the tramp clothes. Once he takes out his rags, his old, look and other things will leave him. He will look, different when he dresses up properly and when he is clean. Just as he said this, the door opened and the stranger entered. Yes, now he was truly clean and well dressed. The valet had bathed him, cut his hair, and shaved him. Moreover, he was dressed in a good-looking suit of clothes which belonged to the ironmaster. So they dressed him up in the owner's clothes also. He wore a white shirt and a starched collar and gold shoes. So he was completely dressed from top to toe. But although his guest was now so well groomed, the ironmaster did not seem pleased. Why? He looked at him with puckered brow. Suddenly his countenance changed. And it was easy to understand that when he had seen the strange fellow in this uncertain reflection from the furnace, he might have made a mistake. But that now, when he stood there in broad daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. Now, in the dull light in the night, he did not make him out probably. But now it was broad daylight and it was, bright, and he knew that this man who was standing in front was not Captain Nils Olaf, as he thought, uh, no, he would be. Okay, he had mistaken him for his old acquaintance. Now he knew that it was not Captain Nils Olaf. What does this mean? He thundered. He was very angry now. Okay, the stranger made no attempt to dissimulate. No, he did not make any kind of action to show that he was Captain Nils Olaf. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. So he was going to have a good time, he thought, during Christmas. But now he knew that it is all going to end then and there. It is not my fault, sir, he said. I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader, and I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the fort. So he says, you are the one who forced to bring me here. I did not want to come with you. But no harm has been done. At worst, I can put on my rags again and go away. So he says, no problem. I just go back, take my clothes, and I'll get back into my rags and I'll go away. No problem, he says. Well, said the ironmaster, hesitating a little. It was not quite honest either. You must admit that. And I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in the matter. So he says, you do not, make an attempt to say that you are not Nils Olaf. You do not do anything of that kind. I think I should put the sheriff in, the chief executive officer. I must put him on to you. I want him to speak to you, he says. Okay. The tramp took a step forward and struck the table with his fist. So he bangs the table. He's angry. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, Mr. Ironmaster, how things are, he said. The whole world is nothing but a big rat trap. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese rinds, the outer skin or the edges of cheese, and bits of pork, set out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. So he says, see, I was all on myself, all on my own. I just wanted to sleep there in the night and go away in the morning. You were the one who brought me here. You were the one who put on good clothes. And now you want to hand me over to the police. Okay? And this is not fair. The whole world is like a rat trap. He's very angry, frustrated, and he opens up. And he starts speaking. And if the sheriff comes now and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Ironmaster, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork, and then you will get caught in the trap. So he's like cursing him. See, if you put me into trouble, one day you also will be in trouble. You also will be attracted by something. You will also get into trouble. One day you'll find yourself in soup. The ironmaster began to laugh. Now, because this fellow was bursting out, the ironmaster started laughing. That was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on Christmas Eve. But now get out of here as fast as you can. Okay, so he says, okay, I'm not going to trouble the sheriff. And it's Christmas Eve. People are celebrating Christmas, so you better get out of my place as fast as you can. But just as the man was opening the door, the daughter said, I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go. And with that, she went and closed the door. Now you can see, she understood. Probably she was a very kind person. So she thought, though it is not Captain Lilzoloff, why not we keep this fellow here with us for Christmas? And Christmas is a time to love, share, care, and all that. What in the world are you doing? Said the father. The father did not want to take a risk to allow a stranger inside the house. But the daughter was a very kind-hearted person. The daughter stood there quite embarrassed and hardly knew what to answer. One thing is she only went and brought him also. That morning, she had felt so happy when she thought how homelike and Christmassy she was going to make things for the poor, hungry rich. She wanted to show him some love and compassion during Christmas. She was very excited about that. And now she did not want that to, be spoiled. She could not get away from the idea all at once, and that was why she had interceded for the vagabond. She pleaded, she spoke on behalf of the person and she wanted him to stay there. She tried to convince her father. I'm thinking of the stranger here, said the young girl. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there is probably not a single place in the whole country where he is welcome and can feel at home. Wherever he turns, he is chased away. Always he is afraid of being arrested and cross-examined. I should like to have him enjoy a day of peace with us here, just one in the whole year. So she says, why not help a person like this? He's always in trouble. He's always walking. He's always, not in peace. So during this Christmas, why not we give him one day of peace? Okay. The ironmaster mumbled something in his beard. He could not bring himself to oppose her. So being the daughter, and it is her wish, so he did not want to displease the daughter during Christmas. It was all a mistake, of course, she continued. But anyway, I don't think we ought to chase away a human being whom we have asked to come here and whom we have promised Christmas cheer. So he says, we have promised him, we brought him here, we compelled him and brought him home. So we should not, displease him. Okay. You do preach worse than a parson, a priest, okay, said the ironmaster. I only hope you won't have to regret it. So he says, okay, since you want to do something, let it be. I hope you don't make a, no, by keeping this man, hope nothing bad happens, hope you're not making a mistake. The young girl took the stranger by the hand and led him up to the table. See, she holds him and brings him to the table to eat. Sit down and eat, she said, for she could see that her father had given, she knew her father, we know how to get things done from our parents. So she knew her father had agreed to what she had said. So she allowed him to come to the table and eat. The man the man with the rat trap said not a word. He only sat down and helped himself to food. He was hungry, so he ate. Time after time, he looked at the young girl who had interceded for him. Why had she done it? What could the crazy idea be? He's wondering. He's ready for trouble all the time. So he's wondering why this lady is very kind to him. After that, Christmas Eve at Joe passed just as it always had. The stranger did not cause any trouble because he did not think but sleep. He was so comfortable he slept. The whole forenoon he lay on the sofa in one of the guest rooms and slept at one stretch. He did not wake up at all. He slept nicely. At noon, they woke him up so that he could have his share of the good Christmas fare. But after that, he slept again. So he got up, ate, slept again. It seemed as though for many years he had not been able to sleep as quietly and safely as here at Ramsey. So here he found a place where he could sleep peacefully. So he was only sleeping. So they thought probably this was the only place where he found some peaceful sleep. He could get some peaceful sleep. In the evening, when the Christmas tree was lighted, so decorated, they woke him up again and he stood for a while in the drawing room, blinking as though the candle light hurt him. But after that, he disappeared again. 2 hours later, he was aroused once more, so he went, slept again. 2 hours after that, they woke him up. He then had to go down into the dining room and eat the Christmas fish and porridge. So they had fish and porridge. As soon as they got up from the table, he went around to each one present and said, thank you and good night. Like He thought he had to do it, so he went around and thanked everyone and said good night to everyone. But when he came to the young girl, she gave him to understand that it was her father's intention, father's plan, that the suit which he wore was to be a Christmas present. He did not have to return it. And if he wanted to spend next Christmas Eve in a place where he could rest in peace and be sure that no evil would befall him, would happen to him, he would be welcome back again. So when he came to the girl, she said the suit that he was dressed in, the father's suit, was a present, and she also told him he could come for the next Christmas also. The man with the rat traps did not answer anything to this. He only stared at the young girl in boundless amazement. So he was amused. He was surprised how a person could be so kind to him. The next morning, the ironmaster and his daughter got up in good season to go to the early Christmas service. So early in the morning, they went to church, okay, on Christmas Day. Their guest was still asleep and they did not disturb him. When at about 10 o'clock they drove back from the church, the young girl sat and hung her head even more dejectedly than usual. She was depressed. She was sad. Now, why was she sad? She had gone to church and she's back home and she's sad. Why? At church, she had learned that one of the old crofters of the ironworks had been robbed by a man who went around selling rat traps. So now, probably she had connected, okay? A crofter, a person who worked on the land, who was working there for the ironworks, okay? Crofter of the ironworks. He, uh, you know, at church, probably people were discussing things, or somebody must have spoken about it, or it was announced. So she had heard about it, and she must have connected to this fellow. And there, it makes her very sad that she's been so kind to a thief. And another thing is, she did not know what to expect probably when she came back home. And her father, he said, hope you're not making a mistake. All this adds on to it. So she's very sad, and she's coming back very dejectedly. Yes, that was a fine fellow you let into the house, said her father. Now the father's got a chance. Good person you brought into the house, he says. I only wonder how many silver spoons are left in the cupboard by this time. So they're thinking the fellow would have robbed and left. The vehicle, had hardly stopped at the front steps when the ironmaster asked the valet whether the stranger was still there. So he wanted to make sure the man was still there, or he wanted to know whether he had robbed something and run away. He added that he had heard at church that the man was a thief. So he's telling the valet that fellow is a thief. The valet answered that the fellow had gone and that he had not taken anything with him at all. Okay, so the valet says, no, he has not gone. So he has gone, but he has not taken anything. On the contrary, he had left behind a little package. So he has left something. Instead of taking away, he has left something for Miss Wilminson. That is for the girl. Okay, which Miss Wilminson was to be kind enough to accept as a Christmas present. So he's left a Christmas present for this girl. Why? And what could that present be? Okay, the young girl opened the package, which was so badly done up that the contents came into view at once. Simply something like a package, and it was given. So when she hardly had to do anything, and the things dropped out. She gave a little cry of joy. She was very excited. What made her excited? She found a small rat trap. Yes, he was a seller, so he left a rat trap. That was a Christmas gift. And inside it, lay 3 wrinkled 10 notes. From where did these notes come? The crofters, okay? But that was not all. In the rat trap lay also a letter written in large, jagged, sharp pointing, okay, jagged, sharp pointing characters. So he's written a letter. Honored and noble Miss. So you're a very noble person, you're a kind-hearted person, and you're very respectful, okay? You're a respectable person. Since you have been so nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain. You really treated me like Captain Ilsolaf. You treated me like a captain, though you knew I was not one. I want to be nice to you. See, in return. As if I was a real captain. So she made him feel like a real captain. See the change that she was able to bring over this man with her kindness. For I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief. If I do anything wrong, you'll, the kindness that you showed me, I want that to continue. You're a kind person. I don't want you to feel bad about how kind you were to me. Okay? I want you to remain as, that in the same way. I don't want to spoil that for you. And I don't want you to be embarrassed for being kind to somebody like me. So she says, I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief. But you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for poor wanderers. So you say he hangs it there like a bait, but I'm not worried. Please give it back to him. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain. So, if you had not treated me like a captain, I would have been I would have been caught in this rat trap. Okay? Because in that way, he got power to clear himself. So he says, you made me feel like a captain, and so now I've been able to get rid of the trap. I'm not caught in the trap. I'm able to make a change. I don't want you to be embarrassed because of me. So here, give back the money, and you keep the rat trap. That is a gift from me to you. Written with friendship and high regard, with a lot of respect, Captain Wonstole. He signs his name as Captain Wonstole because he's not the captain, but she treated him like Captain Wonstole. So he wanted to rise up to that standard, to her expectations, and behave like a captain would behave. And you can really see the change that has come into in over him. And though the crofter was very kind to him, he did something wrong there. But here, he is, he's made a change. He has a real change has come over him with the way the girl has treated him. Though she knew that he was not the captain, she really respected him and treated him in that way. And that particular attitude of hers was what made her change. What made him change. And this is what we can do. With kindness, we can even make bad people change into good people. So the way we act, what goes around comes around. That's a saying. So if we do good things, only good things will come back to us. The girl did a lot of good things, and see, she reaps the benefit. Okay, she reaps good things. All right. So this is the way we need to treat human beings. We learn values, how to treat human beings. um, Even though he was not a person known by them, she still, kept the the season, Christmas season, means love, to share, to care. She did that, and that loving, attitude and that caring tendency, all that put together really changed the peddler. And when he signs his name as Captain Monstole, you can see that he himself has, come out. He's raised his, position from an ordinary peddler, from a thief to a captain. So you can expect him to behave like that in the future, because a change has come over him because of Miss Williamson. Okay, so that is the end of the lesson, the rat trap. The repeated questions, the way he, compares the world to a rat trap, and then the crofter, how the crofter entertained him, why he did not want to go when he was invited by the owner of John's Joint Works, and what made him go with the, Edla, Miss Wilminson, and then what change came over him? How do you know he has changed? What are the contents of the letter? What did he leave back for Edla or Miss Williamson? All these are the repeated questions. So, first you read through the textbook and try to answer these questions. Later, I will send you the notes based on the test. Thank you.